everyone. I call the meeting to order and ask that everyone rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, I note the presence of a quorum and ask for first order of business approval of the regular agenda, which has 10 unfinished business items, 1 new business item. There is one change I would propose, is that for convenience sake, we will move item H to the beginning of the session as action on the union contract. So I would ask that change. Are there any other changes, modifications, additions, deletions?
I would, under unfinished business, I would like to add Station 1 repair bids.
Okay. All right, that'll be item J. Station 1 repair bids, Vice Chairman Meyer. Anything else? All right, I entertain a motion to approve the regular agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the regular agenda indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, the motion is agreed to. Consent agenda will consist of the minutes, approval of the minutes, approval of the invoices, and a review of the treasurer's report. And Madam Secretary, do you have any comments on the minutes? Include the
February 2nd closed session, and February 10th.
I give everyone a minute to refresh their recollection of those documents.
And then you gotta pass these up to read. Everybody needs to read the closed session minutes. Do you need this?
So when we're ready, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? I will call the question. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, the motion is agreed to. Public comment, anyone? Comment? Okay. Have a chance later. Moving into the chief's report, Chief Baird.
Last month, I was asked about getting some information on thermal imagery. Ian, are you ready to go?
Sure.
So we brought one in to show you what our old unit, and the guys timed it, and the battery that's in our old one, we can't get batteries for any longer. They last 30 seconds. You can also see how the technology has changed from the big one, which is the old one, to a newer one, and even this newer one that we have for demonstration purposes is now past, that is not meeting the standards for the technology that's in new ones. The newer ones even that we've been looking at will actually fit in like a coat pocket, about the size of a battery. So Ian's done most of the work on researching this, so I'm gonna let him kind of go over the explanation of it. This this is the cost.
Okay, so like Chief said, I originally started this project. I was looking for batteries for a different camera, and I ended up doing a bunch of research on the thermal imagers. The camera that we have, the technology in that camera is from the 1980s. It's called VOX technology. I'm just going to use the three-letter acronym because
Vanadium oxide.
there you go. So the sensors in there, that technology is pre-1980s. Before the VOX was the BST, which was the technology that required cooling. When you spoke about the cooling of the inner workings of the camera, that was pre-1980s. The new cameras today, a lot of them use VOX still, but the latest and greatest is ASI, which is amorphous silicone. It's the same technology basically as building computer processor chips now.
The microbolometer.
Mm-hmm. That's the name, but it's ASI is what it is, and it's basically a computer chip. They build it the same way, and ASI and VOX don't use the cryogenic cooling like BST does. Hence, the size of the unit is drastically smaller, and ASI is cheaper to build now. So the prices have gone down. I believe the original cost of the MSA 4000 was roughly $25,000. The newer technology, high-end units are running about $14,000. Mid-range units are somewhere in the $7,000 range. And then the low-end units are somewhere in the $4,000 range. The proposal that you have there is for a mid-range, and they all have roughly the same features. The main difference is the quality and the speed of the ASI chip that's inside. So there's one chip faster than the chip that's in the Argus model there. It would increase quality a little bit. It would increase processing speed of the camera, but it also costs us about twice the money. So those cameras, they're just a little bit bigger than a flashlight that we normally carry in our pocket. They're roughly the same size as one I brought today. They come with 2 batteries and a charger for the truck. I have a proposal for 2, one for Station 1 and one for the substation out in Lima Township. That way, either our truck responding from downtown or a truck responding out to Lima Township would have a camera with them. They're small enough somebody can actually carry them in their pocket. And is there any questions? I didn't want to get too in-depth into the inner technology of the camera because, frankly, it gets confusing.
One question, Ian. Would you set up all the trucks so the camera could be charged and go with any responding truck, or would it be in a dedicated vehicle?
Probably in a dedicated vehicle. I talked with Chief, and it was 2 dedicated vehicles, but the battery runs about 2 hours, and there's a backup battery in the charger. So there should be at least one vehicle on scene that would have a camera in the charger.
Intent is to put it in the 2 primary response vehicles. So the vehicle, the engine at Station 2 would have one in it, and then the primary engine on Station 1 would have one. So somewhere in the first alarm assignment, there would be at least one.
This is long wave, 8 to 12 microns. It says 8 to 14, but
You're looking on the data sheet?
yeah.
Yes.
So long wave detectors or sensors are used mainly for room temperature objects. So I guess the question is, and maybe this is for the chief as well, how will we use this? This would be good at, for example, finding lost hikers in the woods. I'm not sure how.
It has dual modes, Rod. So it's dual mode. It runs for fire and it runs for search and rescue. So there's 2 modes within this model. You can switch switch between modes. It goes more into depth on the modes in the operator's manual. I didn't include the operator's manual for you.
Does it use two bands? Do you know that?
I do not know. I would have to ask the manufacturer on that. It doesn't specify.
The reason I'm asking is that, again, it's objects at around room temperature, 300 degrees. Yeah, but I need to know what the band is. It's objects around 300 degrees Kelvin radiate at, as it happens, 10.
Not hotter than objects.
Most at 10 microns, whereas if you're looking for a fire through smoke or hot spot in a building, that radiates at a much shorter wavelength. And I would think for smoke penetration to find a fire, it would be nice to be able to look at that band, which is like 3 to 5 microns.
So there's the write-up on the different modes. So it actually has a higher range than most other cameras. So it runs in 2000s, and then when you switch over to search and rescue mode, you get white hot grayscale versus color scale.
All right. Okay, this looks like it uses the same band, but you guys are confident that this would be effective in that use, and this is something you guys will train for or plan to use it for to detect in actual structure fires?
Oh, gosh, yes. Oh, yeah,
It's under NFPA 1801. First came out in 2010. The next version was 2013. A lot of the research that I've looked in, articles that I've read about NFPA 1801 said that it's one of the most stringent requirements as far as on a piece of fire equipment that was passed by NFPA. This is NFPA compliant to 2013. It has the latest and greatest that NFPA required. There are not very many cameras on the market that are NFPA compliant. Most cameras on the market today that do meet that requirement are upwards of $14,000.
Yeah, okay.
They're a little bit bigger, but most of them are in that price range.
Yeah, it's, okay.
This guy gives you an idea of what's out there as far as, you're probably familiar with it, but some others aren't. As far as, it shows up, the warmer shows up cold, or shows up white.
This is a typical
Yeah,
mid or long wave display with even, white hot.
yeah.
But this is fine if you're looking for hikers. The problem is if you're in a fire, first of all, there's the radiation laws indicate you get lots more photons, like a factor order of fourth power, which tends to saturate these long wave displays because you just, there's too many photons. But it sounds like they solved that problem. I don't want to waste.
They call it noise, is what you're talking about. I think
Noise
the
equivalent
noise.
delta temperature.
Right, and so the Vox technology is actually a little bit better as far as the noise. So the haloing effect when you're using the camera is what they're talking about when they talk about the noise. The Vox is a little bit better with the haloing effect of the noise in the camera. The ASI, it's new. It's getting very high reviews as far as the noise goes. Still not as good as Vox, but I'm hoping that as technology progresses with ASI and the chip, that's the way it's going to go, and they'll work that out.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's based on semiconductor foundry technology, which is everybody used to make computer chips. That's what it is. It's a computer chip with VOX on it. The VOX is sensitive to heat. Its resistivity changes with heat. That's the effect you're seeing. So, great, excellent.
Thank you.
Very good, thanks, Ian. It's up. We can chat offline about this, and you can probably tell what kind of interesting. But Chief, in your position, you'll have a well-defined set of rules about, not rules, but procedures about how we use these things.
Procedures and
Training.
training that coincides with
Great,
it as well.
okay, excellent. Very good. So we're still in your report.
Yes. Met with Dexter Fire, and we worked out some preliminary joint responses between our two departments with the opening of Station 2. which is gonna greatly enhance, as I've said before, Linden Township's coverage and Lyman Township as well. So, along with that, in February, we had another fun month with weather, generated several calls. Also met with our insurance agent, Kevin Decker, and we went over our insurance policy in detail. We reviewed our work comp and risk management areas as well. Question was raised a while back about whether the board was bonded and coverage and things like that. And I included in a board packet. It was just loosely, it just laid in there loosely. And it just shows that the board is in fact bonded and there is, liability coverage. So that is in fact in place. So we had a great discussion about that. But the one thing that came up that kind of stood out, at least in my mind, was we're currently insuring the building, Station 1, for $775,307, so almost $800,000. And I'm not sure, because we CAFA don't own the building,
Right.
whether we're the ones that should be carrying the insurance or the city should be carrying the insurance. So that came up as a question to the board.
Yeah, why don't you hold that thought? We'll talk about that when we talk about the building.
Okay, all right.
Good point, though. Thank you.
Met with county chiefs. We met on the technical rescue team, and the one issue that they're tackling with right now is cost recovery. There was an incident on the east side where it was at a single-family dwelling. It was kind of, a weekend gathering to do some foundation work that resulted in a person being trapped in a trench. And because that municipality has a no charge to citizens, they're unable to get any cost recovery, and it looks like they may have to foot the bill. So trying to get around how we are able to recover so that we can replace the assets for the team. Went over the contract with HVA, dispatch services. The contract meets our needs. Again, it's been vetted by, every fire department that's on it. My thoughts were we don't need to expend any more funds for attorney costs, since others have already done it ahead of us. HVA personnel and Lieutenant Rigner have been working to set up our grid system that will be used for dispatching purposes. So they've been working together with that. They've also taken over and started doing some of our phone paging as well when they receive the incidents. Also met with Your Source Management. Patty's here today. She's going to speak at the end of our meeting, because her and I we're going to meet afterwards. Things that we've been working on, some of the projects is testing for new paid on call. We currently have 3 openings, and we have 5 apps. We're beginning the interview process with staff on March 25th. Working on promotional process for a lieutenant and captain's position. Currently we have 1 captain and 1 lieutenant that are functioning in acting positions. We're going to use the process that's in place, and Your Source is going to manage it. Department evaluations we're currently working on as well. The handbook requires us to conduct annual evaluations. Your Source is developing a format for this and to ensure compliance with all the labor laws. The captains will evaluate their shifts, the fire chief will evaluate the captains. They're working on developing our website with the necessary HR information and forms for our staff. They have come up with a revised, updated handbook in rough form that was provided us for review, for me to review. But obviously there's nothing that we can do until we, the union contract is finalized. And then Trustee Meyer and myself met with Scott with Dangerous Architects, who's here today, at the Middle Street Station. We opened 4 bids for the Lyman Township construction, and Scott will be here to kind of go over that with us today. The organizational chart is up on the website. I encourage everybody to take a look at it. We're going to be adding pictures to it soon. Another thing I'd like to do publicly is recognize firefighters Robert Stelzer and Ian Ballard for a life-saving award that was submitted by Captain Smith. And we started providing little certificates that they can kind of put in their file, life-saving certificates that kind of made up, but the incident was on February 21st of this year. Both firefighters responded to a 34-year-old male in cardiac arrest, arriving with HVA medics. Firefighter Stelzer performed CPR, and Firefighter Ballard managed the patient's airway, working cohesively with HVA personnel. They exhibited outstanding EMS skills and professional performance, resulting in the male patient returning to spontaneous pulses within 3 minutes of the patient being cared for, or being initiated. Followed up by Captain Smith, found the patient doing well, expecting full recovery with no deficits. On March 5th, 2015, we presented these to both firefighters. Training, we'll continue on with our MyOSHA required training. It was on personal protective equipment this past year. Staff did 2 programs at North Creek. It's part of their bucket fillers program for the kids. They also presented a program, took a truck over to show off at Gretchen's house. And then as far as emergency incidents go, probably the most notable was a restaurant slash bar that was in Freedom Township, over on Pleasant Lake Road in Freedom Township, where the bar itself used to be called the Ora Inn. I think it's called the Pleasant Lake Inn now, or what it is now. Was 100% involved on arrival, and so the big goal was preventing it from burning down the adjacent attached 2-story apartment building, which was accomplished. So, but that's kind of it, unless anybody has questions.
Very good. I think I'd like to thank the firefighters Stelzer and Ballard. This is, again, this just doesn't happen. This is doing all the right things at the right time. And Chief, I think the certificates, this is new, right?
Yes.
I would suggest in the future that we make a formal presentation at this meeting for these things.
You do that.
And maybe get some photographs for the press.
Absolutely.
Because I think we need to recognize when we do things right. We get criticized, and we should, for things we sometimes don't do perfectly, but this is a good thing. All right, thank you. Any questions for the chief? Any other questions or comments? All right, chief's report, and we did have one item about talking about the emergency response report. Do you want to add anything on that? We're going to.
No, it's just that you had asked me to take a look at the city's emergency response plan, and as I said to you earlier, it generated more questions and it didn't answer problems, so address the issues. So.
Let me just summarize for everyone here. Our private discussion is that through another one of my hats with the WAVE committee, they asked me to look at Chelsea's emergency plans, which I did, and got a copy of those and forward them to the chief. And they are incomplete, I think it's fair to say, and a lot of work needs to be done to make them complete.
Yeah.
So what I asked the chief to do is to meet set up a meeting with Chief Toth here at with the police department. I will attend, and we'll begin to look at those plans with our plans, and with the issue with WAVE was that for evacuation of CRC wanted a plan in place for evacuation in the event of something. It wasn't clear about it. So that's the way we'll act going forward, and we'll see reports on that as it occurs. So thank you, Chief. Unfinished business. The first action now is, we want to take action based on the union contract based on discussions during a closed session that we just completed. And I'll open it up for preliminary discussion of any kind at this point. Or we can go straight to a motion if you want, or not.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the union contract entitled Final Draft 01/01/215 through 12/31/2016 with 4 exceptions. The elimination of Article 4, Section 1, that's the one that has to do with the handing out of the dues collection card. It is deemed by council that this is illegal, so we'd like to eliminate that section. Article 6, Section 1, this is the no strike clause. Eliminate the words "to discipline up to and including," which would in effect make it, if you went on strike, you were discharged. The other article, 32, Section 7, the elimination of that entire article, which is the retiree health care. The other section, Article 42, removal of the line mediation or Act 312 arbitration.
What's it? Remember that last one?
Article 32, Section 7, which is the retiree health care.
And that was there. What was the next one after that?
Article 42,
Okay.
removal of the line mediation or Act 312 arbitration. It's not that bad.
No. There is a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? Are there any amendments? Okay. Hearing none, I think I would ask the secretary to read the language of the motion.
Okay, a motion that CAFA accept the union contract's final draft, and on the top of the final draft, it states from 1/1/2015 through 12/31/2016, with the elimination of Article 4, Section 1, and then also Article 6, Section 1, eliminate through discipline and up to termination,
No,
through discipline.
just the words "to discipline up to and including." Termination would stay in there.
Up to and including?
Yeah, 4 words, 5 words.
Okay. 332 section, eliminate total section. Want the whole total section?
Article 32, Section 7,
Mhm.
the entire section.
And then the fourth was Article 42, removal of mediation and arbitration.
Or Act 312 arbitration.
Act 312 arbitration. So, Article 42, removal of mediation or Act 32 arbitration.
312,
312.
312.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you said 32.
Okay, moved and seconded. Hearing no further discussion, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the revised union contract indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, and the motion is agreed to. Thank you. Okay, moving on to now approval of the bylaws. Hopefully this is quick. The bylaws, though these, we've discussed these many years and months, are in the package. They haven't changed substantively since last time. The major change was removal of all references to committees. We don't do committees, and if we decide to, we can just modify the bylaws. So I will leave it to someone to move that we accept this or not, as the case may be.
I had a couple,
Sure.
questions. Actually, section 4 here, we have a typo.
Thanks, Mike.
Incorporate municipal.
Okay, all right, great.
And I-5D.
No.
Good. And a question, we have trustees from the incorporating municipalities serving a 5-year term. But then we dodge over to the at-large and alternate at-large that are basically a 2-year term.
That's correct.
Why do we have the differences in that?
Because they're different in character. The townships nominate, as you know. I mean,
Right.
Nominate you, whereas the at-large are, you know, they're elected by this board. They're nominated by the trustees,
Right.
by the
By the
townships,
townships.
but this
Elected
board
by us.
elected by us.
Okay.
So there's a different level of accountability to the people, I think is the bottom line. That's why it's shorter, I guess. I mean, that actually comes from the articles of incorporation.
You're asking my question. Section 5, it states there secretary hyphen treasurer, and I would think,
Oh, okay.
I would think we would wanna break that out
Absolutely.
as 2 separate.
Yeah, and it's listed, actually, it's broken out in
Mhm.
the text here. Good one.
It's just what I got there. Go back to page 8, additional rules and practices. The name of the maker of a motion shall be entered in the minutes, but the name of the seconder should not be entered unless ordered by the board. And do we not typically
We
always
do, yeah.
put who seconds in there?
Can do that. Is it the,
Yeah.
Would be my recommendation.
Mhm.
That's the one question that would always come up if something became an issue.
Fair
Who
enough.
Should
seconded
be
the motion?
entered, they should be entered.
I think, I'm a perfect client. The issue, well, to second a motion does not necessarily mean you support it. If you make a motion, you're obligated to support it,
Mhm.
but if you second it, that's the one. But I'm just,
I wouldn't second a motion if I wasn't in favor of it.
well, that's not, that's your decision,
Mhm.
but it doesn't necessarily hold. The second, you may want to second it just to bring it forward for discussion without actually
Okay.
supporting it in the end.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying. Sorry, Craig, go ahead.
Nope, that was all I.
Anybody
all I
else?
had in there.
I had a question, why would we list the duties of the chief in here? I mean,
Well-
it seems like we already have them listed in.
We do.
Articles of incorporation, this contract, you know.
Yeah, we can,
You end up with the potential to have contradictory information. Unless they were specific duties in regards to this board meeting, then I would see them listed here.
that's a fair comment. These are from the pre-incorporation agreement. So they're sort of fixed in stone, but they are redundant, and we can delete them with no effect if that's the preference. All right, so what's the pleasure of the board? We can do a number of things. We can do nothing, of course. We can approve this, approve it as is. We can approve it with the changes suggested by Kurt and Craig. Or we can ask for this to be, the changes to be made and then brought back again another time. So I'll wait the board's pleasure.
I would think we could approve as amended.
Okay, would you like to make a motion?
I would make that motion to approve bylaws as amended.
Okay, I think I caught all the. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? All right, the motion is to approve the bylaws as amended. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, the motion is agreed to. Thank you. I will make those changes and I'll include this include the revised final version in the packet for next time for completeness. Okay, approval of the contract for the refurbishment of the substation. Waste shipment. There we go. Okay.
Pass down, please. Scott, would you inform the board, please, of our recent discussion and the reason I'm asking Scott to put this presentation on is two of these bidders are good friends of mine, so I don't want to, I feel a little conflict of interest if I were to make the recommendation myself.
So, yeah, we went through a regular bid period with invited bidders, general contractor bidders for the interior renovation of the substation. And we had 5 general contractors that we sent drawings to, corresponded with, answered their questions, 4 of them submitted bids. The 5th one has still not responded why he hasn't submitted a bid, but there it is. So as you can see, it went from Dexter Builders, they were high at $99,900. Gorman Builders, $77,225. Steel and Jedley, $76,360. And Lewick Construction was low at $69,606. So I had several conversations with Dwayne Lewick. He feels comfortable that he has included all the work for the drawings. He made further statements that you can see there about he is a resident of the township. He feels commitment towards doing really good work because he's a resident, and plus the gentlemen that are going to be servicing that station are going to be the same ones helping his family if he's in an emergency. So I think there's a personal commitment there, and my recommendation is to go with Lewick Construction for the $69,606. I have an AIA, American Institute of Architects contract that I would advocate that CAFA signs with the general contractor if you should choose to go with Lewick Construction. And it's just a very standard contract, but it's been vetted many times over. It's specifically for smaller projects, which this one is. Dwayne said that he could start almost, immediately with demolition. He needs to get permits from CAFA, Chelsea Area Construction Authority, and Bruce Connell knows what the scope of work is, so that should be fairly immediate as well. Lewick said that he could complete the work within 2 months after starting. As I'll give a advice, I guess, as to the budget, his bid is $69,606. It's been very rare that an addition remodel project doesn't run into something. So once they start up the concrete saws, rip up the slab, there might be additional costs. So it's usually advisable to set aside 10% of your budget for contingency.
Just as a side note, we did have, with 2 of the bidders, a little bit of confusion. And it was easy to see why that happened. We're in a rather odd situation where the building owner is taking care of a great deal of the mechanical and heating. And two of the bidders assumed that the exhaust fans and a couple other items were going to be covered by the owner, which is why if you look in your packet, you will see different numbers versus what has been presented to you here. We did, Scott and I and Chief discussed and thought, I felt somewhat responsible for the confusion on that, so we saw no issue with them revising their bid to reflect the equipment that had been missed. So that's where we stand on this. So as dated here, 17 March 2015, final bid recommendation. Those are the solid figures. I spoke with Bob Van Schoik, the owner, yesterday. I believe it is his intent to hire Applegate Heating and Cooling to do his portion of the furnace work and air conditioning prep and all of that. So pending our selection here of a contractor for the job, I would immediately inform them and make sure we get them Applegate's contact numbers and everything so they can coordinate between themselves and get us out of the middle.
Okay. Anyone have any questions for Scott or Craig for that matter? All right, would you like to make a motion, or would anyone like to make a motion? It could be a motion to accept the one of the bids, or it could be a motion to also accept the bid and authorize me to sign the contract that will arise subsequently, or whatever you choose. So entertain a motion along those lines.
I would make a motion that we accept the bid from Lewitt Construction in the amount of $69,606, including a 10% contingency over and above that figure, as presented by Dangerous Architects in their final bid recommendation, 17 March 2015. And allow our chair, Rod Anderson, to sign the contract with said contractor.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of accepting the bid from Lewitt Construction and authorizing myself to sign the subsequent contract indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Ayes.
Do we need to know, have them sign this contract?
I think signed by me.
The
They-
AIA, the contractor would sign the AIA agreement. Does that need to be noted, or would he automatically do that?
I think this is just binds us.
Okay.
And what you did, I think the motion does, is authorize, we accept the bid and authorizes me to sign the contract when it's presented,
Okay.
right? I mean, that's,
Okay.
okay. So where were we?
Motion seconded.
Moving, so I
Second.
call a question. All those in favor of the motion on the floor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion is agreed to. Great, thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
All right, building agreement. Another one of these things has been pending for a long time. Just to refresh everybody's memory, we have had no legal instrument that talks about our relationship with the building that we live in and the city of Chelsea. And with the extensive legal help, we've tabulated this building use agreement. And what we're proposing at this point is we're only authorizing presentation of this to the Chelsea City Council for their consideration. I reached out to them previously for whatever documents they had in place related to our use of the building, and they sent me a copy of the Articles of Incorporation, which was not particularly helpful. So, anyway, this is the terms of how we propose to share costs. And it's based on a tenant type agreement, which has been considerably modified. So, the specific issue that came up was the insurance, and let's see, that's treated in here in section, and I don't have the pages aren't numbered, I apologize for that, but this is section 5, Chelsea's responsibilities. And under Article B, it basically says they provide insurance, which it really, I think, makes sense.
Yes,
For
it
the
does.
building itself.
Yes.
So,
We've been paying
but,
it, and CAFA's been paying it.
Yes.
yes, but they may have been paying it as well, we don't know.
We double
That's
insurance.
true too.
I mean, I expect, I'm afraid to guess it, so. Questions, comments? Again, this will not be enforced if we approve it. It will only say that it goes to the city. Now, but if the city approves it, then it becomes binding. But I frankly expect that there will be some negotiation. But that said, we want this to be as close to our needs as possible.
Yeah, it's, when I look at Chelsea's responsibilities under letter E, it says Chelsea must maintain the property in good repair. Yeah.
Except for reasonable wear and tear.
So I guess that to me would say that, building repairs would fall under Chelsea. If the foundation is settling.
Right. Well,
To make a comment on that, Kurt, I do have and gave to you folks the finalized bids on the repair of that facility.
Saw that.
But I believe, if I remember right, a while back, Rod and I were tasked with contacting the city and finding out what funding options might be available.
and the bottom line of that was very early on, it was clear that it was zero. They're not interested in participating in these repairs. I think Kurt makes a good point, is, I guess we have to decide going forward if we anticipate that this is something we want Chelsea to pay for. And it's sort of ambiguous here, so,
I would say we take it to the city council and see what,
okay.
see the reaction.
And that, as is,
Mhm.
okay? Would you like to make a motion?
I so move. We have Rod Anderson.
Present this to the city council? Sorry.
One second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. The motion is to authorize the Chelsea representative to forward the building agreement to the city of Chelsea for consideration. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Motion is agreed to. Thank you. Okay, accounting services, Treasurer Kosak.
I don't have any update on accounting services.
Just hand it out.
Is that in the board, did I see that in the board
Should be
packet?
in here.
the proposal from,
I believe what we did, Kurt,
Yeah, it's attached, it's in here.
we tabled it last month because you were not here, and
Right.
we wanted you here for your opinion.
all right, but I didn't solicit this bid, so I don't know.
No, this was kind of Linda,
I
we worked through Linda.
solicited it. And it went through Pat Hannaford, he's the one that got it. This is- I mean, they've been having ongoing problems. And I worked with her through Multi Lakes Water and Sewer Authority. She was hired to come in and take care of their problems there. She's doing an excellent job. She will give whatever reports you need. She has an accounting background.
Okay, so this in effect would end our relationship with Seventh Rule Accounting. Is
Yes.
that correct?
Mhm.
Would it be fair to ask John Anderson if there's a legal issue with that? I thought at a previous board meeting you said that the accounting and the financials had to be, a certain level of certification had to happen in the.
Well, yes, because you release your financials publicly, we provide you with what's called a compilation report each month. And it is a test service provided by CPAs and only by CPAs that indicates that your financial statements are presented in a proper format for your type of entity, and it is for public disclosure. Because you present those every month in your board packets, and then your board packets are released publicly, that provides users who look at that some information on the basics of the financial statements themselves so that they have some type of understanding of how those financials are derived. And there's always a letter that we send with that. I don't know if it always ends up in your board packet, but there is a letter that we send each month explaining what we have done in terms of that compilation. So it is something that is provided for, that gives the assurance to the public that it has been prepared in a format that is appropriate for your type of entity. That cannot be done by anybody else besides CPAs. Only CPAs can provide that service.
And I did ask Pat Hannaford's office that explicit question, and they said that there's no reason that she can't do the reports, and if you want them reviewed, they can review them. But they did not see a problem.
There is a difference between a review
Mhm.
and a compilation.
And they
And-
did not see any problem with her handling those reports. And that came right from Pat Hannaford's office.
Multi-Lakes has got to probably meet the same requirements
Oh,
that we
they do, yes,
So,
they
and
do.
she's doing those, or is she not?
And our auditor just checks to see what reports we are running and looks at those, and our reports are public.
Okay. Kim, did you have a comment?
When I asked Pat about that, and John told me to, the letter is basically, it was my understanding, a disclaimer and letting people know it's not, basically what you're looking at is not a complete audit. It's not
Yes.
a complete, and I'm just asking, John, isn't that correct?
That is correct. You get a complete audit and a formal opinionated report by your auditor, which is Pat Hannaford. But you're releasing interim reports, and it's saying that, no, we're not providing an opinion on these reports, but we have presented these reports according to the standards that are followed by the auditor and by others in the industry, the governmental standards that need to be provided. I mean, that's not the only service that we provide, though, too. I mean, that's not the only component here. The financials, we've implemented put you guys on a new accounting platform that is a true fund accounting platform, not what you have been using in the past, which was sort of a mix of a couple of different things. So we're trying to move you guys into a better realm to provide you with more relevant reporting as well in terms of doing the actual bookkeeping work that we are providing to you and the reporting that comes out of that. So we believe that these changes will, over the next couple of months, give you better information from a financial standpoint to better do analysis. And it also provides access to you. If Kurt wants access to look at reports, or Rod or whoever, we can provide that access remotely as well on this new platform. So there's some things that we're bringing to the table that if you change and put this in the, put the software in the firehouse and have this person come in, and do it inside the firehouse, you would not have that potential capability. And in addition, you may sacrifice some internal control as a result of that. You've got a very clean internal control report that comes from your auditor now, but by consolidating services into the firehouse, you may lose some of that because now that computer and the accounting software is accessible to others that currently don't have access. So
Not with
Nope.
passwords.
Oh.
They can be
passwords get
locked out.
shared easily.
We have them in our township, and there's only 2 of us that have access to the accounting program. And same with Multilinks. Judy Paul is the only one that has access to the accounting.
All right, let's not,
I won't argue
both
passwords.
made your points. Further discussion? Tom, Craig? Thoughts?
I would be in favor of accepting Judy Paul's
Okay.
presentation.
Because it came from Pat Hannaford. She is recommended by
Okay.
our auditor.
Did he actually, do you have a message there from him?
He's just the one who sent with it. He's the one that actually submitted the quote. It came from him.
Proposal.
They put together a proposal with her. He's also the same one that presented her to
Okay.
Multilinks. That's
All
what
right.
their recommendation.
Okay,
If we have it, if we turn it over to an individual and that individual disappears, do we then run the risk of losing, if it's with a company and you have a staff of 3 or 4 people deep, then if somebody leaves the company for whatever reason, then there's somebody else, continues to carry the ball.
We
And
basically
this-
we went back to Pat for recommendations. That's why I originally went to him, with not necessarily being Judy. He has others that he recommends. And we could go that route.
And then the other question I would have is, we currently have our budget, we have a lot of fund codes, and I would like to keep those, not lose those, and I don't know
That'd be through the auditor.
if that's doable.
Once you said it's all QuickBooks,
It's all through it's all
so
set up.
it's simple enough
So
to
whatever
just,
codes we can
Right.
have her put in the codes we have been
Absolutely.
using.
And she-
QuickBooks is not a fund accounting package. That is something that people have a misunderstanding about. QuickBooks is not a true fund accounting package. You have to make compromises to get QuickBooks to work as a fund accounting package. So, yeah, you can do it, but you also have to build spreadsheets to go along with it inside Excel or inside another process to accomplish that. Well, every time you take data out of a particular program and transfer it into another, you run the risk of errors or data human error or data error. So, QuickBooks is not 100% a fund accounting package. What I've actually moved you guys to is something that is designed for fund accounting and can prevent segmented reports for different types of funds and show you the differences in those funds in a balanced manner.
it sure didn't come through this month, John.
No.
Well, this was a little bit of a transition period, and we did provide the initial batch of that, and we've got some additional stuff that needs to be addressed, and then you will start to see some funded types of accounting reports going forward.
And motion, we never got a second to debate this. We
hang
had
on one second, we're
Craig
trying
made- Craig made a
to,
motion.
you made a motion, right?
Yes, sir.
It was not, we did not have a second.
I'll second.
Okay, you'll say, okay, now we can have discussion. Tom?
Mhm.
Discussion?
Yes.
Not so much this month, but the previous 2 months, the reports were so erroneous that I don't know why anybody bothered to print them.
Yeah.
And
And I have to approve this based on that information. I can see an error, a line-to-line error, but somebody at some point, I'm just a dumb old fireman, I looked at that and said, this cannot be real.
And that is
Why
part of-
wouldn't anybody catch that over that long a period?
The issue is that we have been doing exactly what you're looking at going to. We've been using QuickBooks with Excel to generate the financial statements for you. It has become ineffective, and which is why we have moved you to a new platform. because you are outgrowing the needs of what QuickBooks
But
can
does
provide
anybody
with
look at these before they send them to us?
Yes, we do. They do go through a review process.
Then how could they send
issues-
those out?
The issues with those reports were timing issues related to revenue and how the revenue flowed concurrent with the budget. There was no deposit in that particular month, but the budget was there, and so it was calculating a percentage that was incorrect based on the fact that there was no corresponding deposit number available in that financial statement for that particular month. And so it produced a result that really wasn't truly accurate, but there was nothing I could do because there was no deposit there. Ideally, we probably should have taken the percentage out to make it so that it didn't give that misleading percentage. But I felt that it was important to leave it in there because that showed that there was a timing issue with the deposit not hitting at the same time that we were putting in a budgetary number. Obviously, we fixed some of that with the newer reporting as well. If you'd like some reports from those prior periods reprinted to revise the current amounts, we can do that as well and take some of that out. I mean, I can certainly provide that for you.
That was my only comment.
Well, and as far as the, I guess, speaking down on QuickBooks, yes, it's not one of your full-blown accounting packages, but we have approached the auditor before for our township to see if he wanted to switch from QuickBooks to another type of system, and he recommended we stay with QuickBooks. And I know that's QuickBooks is what they recommended to Multi-Lakes also.
And to us, when I
Yes.
asked, he said, when I asked him about switching, because John and I had talked about him doing that previously, he said, there's no need for you guys to switch from QuickBooks.
Yes, he's not, yeah.
That was his.
I'm not gonna argue with Pat. Pat and I could probably have a theoretical discussion and a debate about it. He's got his opinion, I've got mine. I disagree with him on the QuickBooks to a certain extent. I mean, for smaller entities and for businesses, it's very good. For other types of entities or larger entities, it does have some limitations.
Okay. Further discussion? Are we ready for the question?
I believe it all for the question.
Can we have them read the motion again?
Craig made the motion to accept Judy Paul's bid or proposal and hire her, and I seconded.
Moved and seconded. I did not, let me go back to discussion just for a second, because I haven't spoken tonight. I see the issues that we're facing, and there are two perspectives that I bring. Is one is that extremely conservative about, making changes that may or may not be completely an improvement. And number two, I'm really not very knowledgeable about this field. I think a lot of the people around this table have to deal with these things on a daily basis. That said, my tendency is not to support this motion, at least for now. And I mean, if where we are is truly a transition period, moving one platform to another, and I tend to support John's perspective of being closest to the actual detail daily work of what is the optimum platform. I don't think he would propose changing it unless he thought it was an improvement. But my personal preference would be going forward, keep going for another few months to see if in fact we do get better products and we do get an improvement once we're past the transition period. And if not, then we go to plan B. That would be my approach. So, anybody want a final comment, discussion? All right, I'll call the question then. The motion on the floor is to approve, what is it? To accept the bid.
Proposal from Judy Paul.
Accept the proposal for accounting services from Judy Paul.
I seconded.
It's been moved and seconded, so I'll call the question. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. No. So it's
Aye.
okay. All ayes except me.
You said aye?
Opposed?
You're so two opposed.
Two opposed.
Okay, but the ayes have it, and the motion is agreed to. Thank you. All right. Approval of dispatch contract.
In the packet is the contract that, I'm just gonna call them HVA. HVA is used with all the other fire departments that they dispatch for in Washington County, and that is everyone with the exception, has been us and Pittsfield Township. It's been vetted by multiple agencies, including the city of Ann Arbor, and if it can get through the city of Ann Arbor, then it can get through anything. So I'm recommending that we use their contract without expending any additional funds for legal funds.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Any preliminary discussion?
Term of this contract is?
It's self-renewed.
Year.
Does it not?
Term and termination, okay, in section 4. Through June 30th. And termination,
It's only gonna run from April 1 to June 30th of the same year.
It gets his contract in line with their fiscal year,
Oh,
Yes.
okay, okay.
Yep.
is why it's a short initial jump, and then it goes year to year.
Yep, that's annual.
But it is automatically renewed. Section 4.1.
So 60 days advance written notice would terminate the contract.
Mm-hmm. I have anybody else? Any other discussion? This is generally looked at the people. Chief, I've got a few things I'd like to go through here. It'll take a little while, but I think it's necessary. And that is, I'm mapping the contract that we proposed with the city, with this contract, and there are a lot of things I'm not seeing. Specifics that we basically disqualified the city of Chelsea for are not in this contract.
Such as?
Ability to tone and activate emergency personnel to respond to calls based on a predetermined geographical area and nature of the incident.
HVA will do it better.
Where is it in the contract is my question.
They automatically do it, they don't even, they give you the grid.
Yeah,
Sorry?
HVA gives you the grid as soon as they turn you out.
he's asking for the contract.
Where
language.
is it in the contract? That's my question, yeah.
I'm looking for
Right. Yeah, thanks, Roger.
All right, well,
I knew you were up.
Look, I understand that there is a certain level of trust here. Nevertheless, I mean, I think it's fair to say that we disqualified Chelsea for not conforming to many of these things. But let me just go through the list, Chief, and then we can, between you and Roger and the firefighters here can identify things. The dedicated dispatcher. Now, the question is, what does that mean? Obviously, there is a dedicated dispatcher here because there's only one person, but in HVA, you're not dedicated to an incident. From my understanding, Roger, is that there is a fire dispatcher who is dealing with basically all the fire incidents currently underway. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is that a dedicated dispatcher in your mind?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well,
That's
kind of,
that's
all
all
they
they
do.
do is they do the fire.
but they're not, they're dedicated
To fire.
to fire, but not to a specific incident.
No, because we throw in the additional dispatchers that we need, as needed to that, if there's an escalating incident or several incidents going on, I guess that's the benefit we have that you don't have today, Rod, is the fact that we've got a minimum of 8 people in there.
Right.
On the slow times that are all capable of dispatching anything, and monitoring
Right.
all the channels.
Rod,
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
I think the term dedicated dispatch is a business term used in emergency business, that a dedicated dispatch only does one phase of dispatching, not dedicated to one incident. In other words, they don't do the EMS, they don't do the police, they just do fire. It's more of a training description as opposed to
Okay.
numbers.
All right. I understand that. I don't agree with it, but I understand it.
Yeah.
computer aided dispatch, what is that, and is that contract?
It's part of the system. To go back to your initial question, Ron, about,
All right,
if I can just try to
Sure.
address these, because I have an electronic copy of it, I don't have a
Mhm.
paper copy with me. Under services, 1.2.1,
Dispatch communication.
yep,
A and B, answer all 911 calls, other telephone lines, radio channels for the purpose of receiving, documenting, and recording requests for fire services, and then B, promptly notify the fire department of valid requests for fire department services pursuant to the guidelines, policies, and procedures and protocols established by emergent health partners and approved by the fire department. That would answer your question about the paging and what have you. That's all part of that whole package is whatever tones. And that's something that we have to sit down with Jim and with the fire department to work that
Fair
out
enough.
as far as what,
okay.
what tones, what frequencies, all that stuff is all part of the planning and putting this in place, part of it.
Okay, let me cut to the quick here and identify the issues that Chelsea could not provide, the services Chelsea could not provide. The use of a standalone terminal, provide CAFA staff the ability to monitor active incidents. Where is that in this contract?
Being part of the same,
Is that equipment you're gonna be providing to us?
well, there's a clause in there that the fire department would have to provide the equipment, which would be a computer terminal. We have what's called a rip and run system, whereas they can monitor the call, and when the call goes out, when the tones drop for the call, it automatically prints out a paper copy so that the guys in the station,
Right.
it's called rip and run, they basically rip it off the printer and run to the truck and off they go.
Understand.
We use our screen, and it's just tied into their computer system,
Right.
Well, where,
which feeds it into, to computer, so it comes up on the screen, and it goes to the rip and run.
all right, so there's a printer involved at some point. Where does that come from, and where is it in this contract?
Under services, would be under 1.3 telecommunications
Okay.
equipment. EHP agrees to provide services using appropriate telecommunications equipment, including radio consoles, radio control consoles, radio base stations, telephone answering equipment, computer-aided dispatch software, and telephone recording equipment. The equipment that EHP owns and controls, EHP shall be responsible for maintenance and repair of the above-mentioned telecommunications equipment, which is on our end. There's also a clause in there somewhere, I saw it a little while ago, that the fire department's responsible for the stuff on their end as far as,
Section 2.
Yeah, yeah, we're not gonna come over and work on their, their computer, that would be their
So
responsibility.
I mean, we do need, Jim, we do need additional equipment to do the rip and run, correct?
No, we have all the stuff we need. All we need is, we've got the printer, and all we need is a computer screen, and we've got those, so, no.
Okay. All right, I guess I won't belabor the obvious, is that I thought there were issues with our decision before. I have the utmost respect for HBA or Emergent as an organization that will provide the services that we need. I just think it's a little ironic is that the things that we disqualify, from my perspective, the things we disqualified Chelsea for, we're really not asking HBA to provide, but we anticipate they will provide them. But let's all remember that there are, at some level, this is a degradation of service for the city. But with that, I will entertain a motion to approve the contract.
So moved.
Unless there's, yeah, go ahead, Tom.
So moved.
Okay. Move to approve the contract with Emergent for fire dispatching. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the contract with Emergent indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. Thank you. I think we'll get good service from HVA, and it's a top-notch organization. It's just that I think we can get good service from Chelsea as well. That's just my opinion. All right, moving on. Back to Treasurer Kosek's status of investment account. This is tabled from the February meeting.
I have no update on that.
Okay, great. Item G, approval of the no layoff memorandum. This is a document you should have in front of you. It's from us, meaning me, to Catherine Patterson, Branch Chief of Assistance to Firefighters Branch of FEMA in Washington, and I'll just read it short. To whom it may concern, Chelsea Area Fire Authority agrees to maintain our staffing levels and incur no layoffs during the period of performance of this grant, fiscal year 2014, staffing for adequate fire and emergency response, safer if awarded. So, to support that grant, as you see, I signed this. What I'm asking for today is board approval for that, with the understanding this does commit us to do what it says, incur no layoffs. Now, leave it, our lawyer is departed, but I would leave it to the legal people if we did at some future date have to institute layoffs, how this would affect, perhaps we lose the grant, but.
No.
Chief, do you, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, what it really means is, if we receive the grant, that we're not gonna lay off employees and fill those positions with the grant-funded employees. That's all it's saying.
Mhm.
So, you're not gonna lay off people to use federal funds
That's
to,
not- Oh, do we
which
have-
is
The
really,
extra one that Kurt can have.
Do we have an extra?
I'm okay with it.
Would you
I
share?
know I
I
mean it.
had to look at mine. I didn't know for permanent records, I had an extra one.
That's not, but Jim, that's not what it says. It says, we agree to maintain our staffing levels. Is that, am I,
If you're gonna take the money, you're gonna hire the people.
Right.
Because it didn't come in our capital, it was documented.
My humble interpretation. As opposed to use that money to fund people that are already here.
so if we did, let's say okay. This sort of puts us in a, if we can't, here's the situation, we do safer grant, we get another 3 people, or whatever it is. And then we run to a fiscal crisis where we have to reduce our overall expenses, those 3 people are being paid for by the feds. What this says is we can't lay off anybody else. So it means we can't, so
Correct.
regardless of the fact that we're getting, 3 individuals gratis for free, we're stuck.
You're not gonna lay anybody off for 2 years.
Right.
Right. Is it 2 years?
2 years.
Just 2 years.
Yeah,
It's 2 years, 2 years.
2
right?
years, yeah.
Okay, that's, the only thing we could do would be to basically withdraw from the grant, or get rid of the safer people, and then lay off people in addition to that. I know it's, hopefully, we're talking in an extreme, condition, but we've been through extreme conditions before. All right, it's up to the board. Is there further?
It also
Oh.
considers the contract.
Well, but I think we established that we have that option. Well,
And to understand also, though, that we haven't received the grant, and there's still an acceptance whether you take it or not. This is just purely part of the application process, so.
Well,
I would argue the fact that it does say, your last 2 words here, if awarded.
Right.
So if we do not receive the grant, then this is not
nugatory,
applicable.
right. Well, that's fine, but, so what you're saying is that if the board wants to wait till the grant is awarded to decide how we're gonna function under the grant, the board can do what it wants. I think that's waiting till it's far too late. I mean, we have the facts in front of us about, do we wanna accept the risk of not being able to lay off people? In other words, not being able to constrain our cost if need be for a period of 2 years. That's, to me, what it boils down to. So with that, I'll ask for a motion of whatever kind the board wants to bring forward.
Question, Rod, have you sent this in with the application?
Yeah, it had to be,
That's
it
the
was
thing,
sent in.
it had to be
Yes.
signed.
It had to be
Yes.
signed and sent in, so it's.
Right,
It's done, but of course, it's a grant that hasn't been awarded yet.
right.
Correct.
So if we say today, let's say, you take my position and say we can't agree to, and frankly, I'm not sure that's my position. I just want the board to be aware that there's a risk that we have to take. But let's say the board did take the position, no, we don't wanna take the risk. Well, we do, it's just not follow through on the grant. So, anyway, further discussion?
I think this would come down to whether we accept the grant if we're chosen.
Right.
Okay.
And then we'll have far greater issues to deal with
All right.
at that point.
So, no motion. Does anyone wanna make a motion? Okay,
Is it really necessary?
it's not necessary.
I think
That's
it's
fine,
really
that's
not
fine.
an action, not an action
That's
item
fine,
at this point.
okay, no action on that. We're down to HR update.
Penny?
Ann Quindon from Your Source has joined us.
Good morning, everyone. Happy St.
Good morning.
Patrick's Day. I'm Patty McClendon, and I'm the HR consultant working with the chief on behalf of CAFA. We've been working with the chief since October. That's when you signed your contract, and since then we have successfully transitioned over the payroll. We're working on your benefits, and we're working through HR projects. So let's start with payroll. We are running payroll on a bi-weekly basis. Just recently, we've completed the audit on 2011, 12, and 13 overtime. So your 2012 and 2013 overtime corrections were made already, so the employees have those in hand now. 2011, I believe, is going to be paid this Friday. So everything's all caught up to date. Everything has been fully audited, and I think we've corrected everything that we found of issue. So pretty much from now on, it should be just business as usual each payday. On the benefits side, you have a dedicated benefits team led by our benefits manager, Angela Chisholm. Should one of your employees have a question or a need, all they need to do is call, identify themselves as a CAFA employee. They'll be put in with the right person, and they'll be able to help them with any issue that they have. Whether it's I had a baby, I got married, I don't understand my benefit option, I lost my card, anything like that, the benefits team can help them with them. So it's like you have a benefits team sitting right there, but we're obviously not even in the same city. But they do have access to anybody with questions that they want. On the HR side, we've been working with the chief. We came in, did a review of where you're at in terms of your labor law compliance, where we could do implement some best practices and so forth. And we've come up with a project plan on some items that we want to accomplish in the next year. We've already been working through some of those with the chief. They include we did an audit of your personnel files, moved those over to the Your Source group. We've been looking at your I-9 compliance for Homeland Security. Every company, no matter if they're a city, a state, or whatever, has to comply with that. So we're working through those with Kim right now to get you in compliance. We're creating your website, which basically is kind of like a filing cabinet for the employees. They go to the website, they can pick up forms and different things. Eventually your handbook is going to be out there, their union contract and so forth. So instead of having a paper copy, they can just go to the web and pull it down and have the most up-to-date copy there. We've been working with the handbook. Chief mentioned that we did present a draft to him the last time that we met. That is not finalized because we have to obviously finalize the union contract before we can finish that. So the union contract will always be number one in terms of rules and benefits for the employees. The handbook will fill in the gaps there for your labor law compliance, establish reasonable work rules on the employment side, kind of lay out things that aren't spelled out specifically in the contract. So if there's a question, somebody has an issue, we can either look to the contract or we can look to the employee handbook. So as soon as the contract's done, we'll be able to finalize the handbook, and then we'll be able to give that to you to review. Chief mentioned that we were working on recruitment. He's got some paid on calls that are coming up, so we put together a schedule for those employees. whoever's gonna be doing the interviewing, we've got a packet for them to look at. And what does that mean? Just kind of reminding the interviewers of what's a legal versus illegal interview question, giving them some ideas on questions, helping them to rank their candidates, and basically creating a legal file for that reason why you selected that person. So we're kind of going to walk them through that. And then we're also working with the promotions. I'm not sure if we're going to wait till after the union contract is ratified to do that, because there are some specific rules for promotions, or if we want to move forward. So we're going to talk about that today. But any one of you can give us a call if you have a question on human resources. We're at your disposal. We're not sitting in your office, but we're available. So if you give the office a call and have a general question, either for payroll, benefits, or HR, we'll be glad to help you out with it. Okay.
And they have been awesome as far as response. If you call, they're very quick to get back with you. So.
Excellent. How about, what number do we call, and to take you up in your offer, how do we?
Business cards?
I sure do.
Okay.
I'm glad you asked. This is my card particularly, but the main office, you can get payroll and benefits at that same
Okay.
number. You just have to ask for payroll or benefits.
Thank you.
Okay? You are
I already have one.
And actually, I think I did come, the questions I had on
The contract, didn't you?
the OPEB stuff, yeah. And, yeah, that was very helpful. Who did I talk to though? Wasn't
Probably Angela.
Angela, right. Angela, yes, she was, okay, so, but we contact you initially, and you'll point us in the right direction. We do have board-type questions.
On the HR side, if you have payroll or benefits questions, we have a payroll manager and we have a benefits manager that can answer those particular. You can always call me and I can say,
Yeah.
I really don't know the answer to that, let's refer it over to payroll or benefits. I certainly help you if I
Could I
can.
ask that you send me I think you just send me a list of what those contacts are, and I'll distribute it to the board,
Sure.
because I think it's important. I don't anticipate this will happen every day, but it's important, I think, for the board to be able to pick up the phone and talk to a knowledgeable person about what's going on.
Okay, when we finish the website, our contacts will be on there too, and
Okay,
you'll all have
all right.
access to that website.
That's
But we'll
great.
get you some paper ones in the meantime. Okay?
Anybody, any other questions, comments? I'm sorry, was that it, Patty?
Yep, that's
Okay.
all.
Jim, you?
Thanks, Patty.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
great, thanks. You're located in
Auburn Hills.
Auburn Hills.
Yeah,
So
we're right
it's
by
quite a
the
drive.
palace. Yeah.
Quite a drive. Okay, new business, tanker 6
Wait a minute, gotta do Mr. Meyer again.
Oh, that's right. Jay.
Oh, sorry, Station 1 repair bids.
I solicited for 4 bids. One of the groups was already so busy that they called me back and withdrew. So I do have 3. One from Kent Companies, which is able to do the entire job, which included putting in the piles and void fill and caulking. Their total cost would come to $30,350 for the repair. Anchor Tech also gave a price of $17,843. If you notice, that is only to install the heated filters, and they do not replace the concrete that they would remove as necessary to install the pilings. And we would have to hire someone else to do the grouting. And taking these other couple bids and looking at it, you could be anywhere from $25,443 to $29,843, and still have to replace whatever concrete has been removed. And we have a bid from Spartan Specialties. Two of the items here They bid it precisely as what the engineer's drawing showed, but in discussion with most of these gentlemen, they're all in agreement that we would not have to remove the interior concrete slab and install the additional pile supports in there. So as you look at their cost figure, that 85,100 would actually come to 42,000 with the 2 deletions. However, you do have to move down then and add the $12,000 fee for their void filling. So they come up with a total cost of 54,000. Personal recommendation. I'm not big on having to have multiple contractors. It would be my recommendation to the board to go with Kent Companies and at $30,350 and allow them to do the repairs if so approved. Once again, going back to as we discussed with the Station 2, there are some possible contingencies in there, as you will see in here, if the soil borings that were done by the engineer were not quite correct, or if they didn't find suitable soil, there can be an additional charge to sink those down to where they get the support that they need. Price quoted does not include haul off of excavated soil or installation of granular fill. So it's possible as we proceed with this project, if it turns out to be absolutely garbage soil alongside the building there, that would be an additional cost if we then wanted to haul that out and bring in 30, 40 yards of sand to replace with or something. So,
You can get the city to haul that off.
good chance, perhaps. Or I've got a dump truck.
Okay. Discussion.
So was it your motion to?
There's no motion yet.
It was my recommendation out of the
In the absence of
three
discussion,
that we
do you want to make
received.
a motion?
I can make the motion that we accept the bid from Kent Companies to install helical piers, void fill, and caulk at Station 1, 200 West Middle Street.
And the amount?
And the amount, $30,350.